In this lecture, let us talk about effect of interferences, that is single tone interference. Okay, so we would like to consider how your FM signal performs in the presence of interference. So we are not going to consider the noise here, but we are going to consider the interference. So that is the performance of FM signal. So I am not yet ready to discuss the performance of any kind of modulation signals in the presence of noise, because we need to build our background about describing noise, but that we did not discuss it till now, because noise, like unlike signals that we are dealing with, are non-deterministic signals. Non-deterministic signals. So that we will discuss a little later. But now at present in this lecture we are going to consider interference, especially by single tone interference. Okay, because I haven't yet developed in the class the necessary background that is required to discuss the performance of all the system in the presence of noise. So noise is a very important phenomenon that every communication engineer has to deal with. So communication is broadly made difficult because of the presence of noise. Various kinds of noise which we discussed a long time ago. However, it is possible to get a feel for how system performance will be even without knowing how to characterize noise, and that is by looking at the situation of deterministic kind of interference. So this is deterministic kind of interference. Okay, which we did, for example, for the case of AM signal, if you remember. Okay, so refer the previous one of the previous lecture. So in AM system we discussed what happens if there is a nearby carrier to the AM signal, and it gets through your RF and IF filters. So your receiver signal, let us say XR of t plus some carrier signal nearby your received signal. So for example, the image frequency comes in the form of a signal which is close to your actual frequency and comes in. So it becomes a kind of interference, and we saw what happens in the case of AM. What happened? There was a kind of threshold effect, if you noticed, particularly for the envelope detector. Of course, for synchronous detector there was no problem, there was a graceful degradation, but envelope detector there was not a graceful degradation. Okay, so for for the envelope detector, as long as the input signal to interference ratio was large, the output was similar to the input signal, except that the output interference was proportional to the amount of input interference. However, the moment the interference became very large, if you remember what happened, the output became totally different. Okay, it had no resemblance to the input. Okay, you cannot get the replica of the input signal. So even without considering the noise, one can get an intuitive feel for what is going to happen. Now we will not do that noise analysis here, but what we do is, to some level of detail, we will discuss the effect of sinusoidal interference. So when I say single tone signal, then it means sinusoidal interference. Okay, which may be present in the receiver, and we will try to see how FM and PM differ from each other in the presence of these interferences. Okay, so if sinusoidal interference comes with your FM signal, how the system will be, performance of the FM system will be, and if no interference comes with your PM signal, what is the performance of your PM system. So let us consider the effect of interference. So We will model the interference here as a single tone interference, that is a sinusoidal interference. So A times cos of omega I t, right? So it contains only one frequency. How many frequencies are there in this one? It has only one frequency it has. That is why this is called a single tone frequency. Okay, you can consider this discussion as some kind of a precursor to our discussion to understand the effect of noise on FM system. So only thing is our noise here is not a random signal. This is a deterministic signal. So this interference is a deterministic interference, sinusoidal signal for different frequency. So let us consider an input to either for PM modulation or FM modulator. Sorry, let us consider an input signal to FM demodulator, or you can say PM demodulator. You can take either of this, okay? Either take FM demodulator or PM demodulator, doesn't matter. Whatever you like to call it. Whatever you like to take it. Okay, either you can take FM demodulator or PM demodulator. Sometimes people will call FM discriminator also. It doesn't matter. So what you are saying is that this input contains two parts. Input to the FM demodulator contains two parts. For the sake of discussion, at the moment I will ignore the modulations, otherwise the discussion becomes too complicated, right? Generally, what is your received signal? XR of t is equal to A times cos of omega ct plus phi of t. Now what I am saying is, let us assume phi of t is equal to 0. Phi of t is equal to 0 means what? A times cos of omega ct. This is your FM signal, and this one is carrier signal. That means what? Unmodulated signal. So for our analysis, we are going to consider unmodulated signal. Let me say x of t. Okay, let's say x suffix r of t. So in this case, your phi of t is equal to 0. Why I am assuming this condition? To simplify the analysis, that's all. That is the only reason I am assuming this phi of t is equal to 0. So let's say you have the desired signal, carrier frequency. So this is my desired signal. Of course, along with the modulation, but let us assume that we are ignoring the modulation. So there is no modulation present in this. No modulation. It is slightly tricky thing here, because frequency modulation is not a linear modulation, right? So its behavior with and without modulation would be slightly different. Also, the fact that if I know the response to one and I know the response to the other, that means if I know the response to unmodulated signal, then I can generalize the response to the modulated signal. Okay, but it does not immediately tell you what will be the response to the sum, because it is a non-linear system. So we have to really go through the notions to keep the discussion simple, right? At the moment, I am ignoring about the modulation here. So let us see, my interfering signal has an amplitude AI, interfering signal, and has a frequency which is slightly different from the carrier frequency. Let us say AI times cos of, it is slightly away from your carrier frequency, omega c plus omega I times t, and this one is added with the cos of omega ct, and this one is my carrier amplitude. So this is my XR of t, received signal. This is my interfering component. Let's say my omega c in this fc is equal to 91.2 megahertz. Then this omega c plus omega I becomes fc plus fi, maybe some 91.5 megahertz, like that, slightly away from the carrier frequency. Therefore, there is an interfering signal close to your carrier frequency. See, carrier frequency is, let us say, 91.2, my interfering frequency is 91.5, so it's very close. Okay, close to your carrier signal, I mean close by to your carrier signal of interest, and that passes through the IF stage. So that comes along with the desired signal. My desired signal is omega ct. Okay, so the desired signal comes to the IF stage, and then in addition to that, this interfering component also coming together. Now, how will the FM discriminator respond to this kind of signal? That is the issue, because accurately you cannot demodulate, right? You cannot tune to carrier frequency, and it's very difficult to suppress all other frequencies. Sometimes, this nearby frequency also will come into the IF stage. So in that case, how will the FM discriminator or the PM demodulator respond to this type of signals? So that's what we are going to address now, and try to gain some understanding. How will you do this? We will do it exactly in the same way that we did the discussion for the AM signal. So convert this signal with amplitude modulation and some phase modulation, and then proceed from there onwards. Let's say this is my equation number 1, and let me write in terms of quadrature components. So expand this, AC times cos of omega ct plus, use cos A plus B formula, cos of omega ct cos A cos B, cos of omega it minus ai sin of omega ct sin of omega it. Okay, now again when you write this in this form, let us write in the amplitude amplitude and phase form. That means envelope and phase. So this I can write as maybe let me write one more step here. AC plus cos omega ct is common here. You can take here also cos omega ct. Therefore, ai times cos of omega it multiplied by cos omega ct minus ai sin omega it multiplied by sin omega ct. This is my quadrature form, right? Now xr of t. Now let me write this in terms of envelope and phase. I will denote the envelope by r of t, and cos of the phase is omega ct, and let me denote the phase by phi of t. Okay, and this one is given to the discriminator. Now in the presence of interference. Okay, now what is r of t and what is phi of t? R of t is square root of the envelope AC plus AI cos of omega it the whole squared plus AI squared sin square of omega it, and this AC plus AI is called a in phase component. And ai times sin omega t is called a quadrature phase component. Okay, fine. Now what is phi of t? Phi of t is equal to tan inverse of quadrature component ai sin omega I t divided by in phase component a suffix c plus a suffix I cos of omega I t. That's it. So tan inverse of quadrature component upon the in phase component is the value of your instantaneous phase. And this is instantaneous envelope. So let us consider the discussion primarily again for large SNR. That is, assume that your large SNR means basically what is SNR? Signal to noise ratio. That means signal power by noise power. If I assume large SNR, that means what? Signal power is very high compared to noise power. So that is the assumption that we are going to consider here. Okay, therefore assume that your desired carrier frequency component amplitude AC is much larger than the interference signal amplitude. So if SNR is large means what? My desired signal AC should be much higher than my interference signal amplitude AI. If you consider this kind of assumption, then let me say this is equation number, already I assumed 1, right? Okay. So let's say this is 2 and this is 3 and this one is 4. Equation 3 can be written as follows. Okay, so equation 3 and 4 can be simplified. How will you simplify that? If AC is much greater than AI, then this term has negligible contribution, AI of sine square omega I square. So this can be avoided, right? Similarly, if tan inverse of this argument is very less, one second, hold on, I am sorry. Now in this case you take AC, compared to AC, this AI has very small, because AC is much greater than AI, therefore in the denominator this guy also will go. Therefore equation 3 will becomes R of t is equal to square root of AC plus AI cos omega I t the whole squared plus we can say negligible 0. Therefore this is AC plus AI cos omega I t, that's it. AC, one second, let me write down properly. So if you don't consider that part, then it becomes AC plus AI plus cos omega I t. Okay, then equation 4 becomes phi of t is equal to tan inverse of AI sin omega I t divided by AC. And one more thing, in the denominator I have very large value, in the numerator it is very small value. So sin theta of very small theta is approximately equal to theta. Similarly, tan inverse of very small value of theta is approximately equal to again theta. So therefore this is AI times sin omega I t by AC. So let me call this is equation number 5 and this one equation number 4. So these two equations are coming under the assumption of AC is much greater than AI. Because your phase demodulator or frequency discriminator is not going to be sensitive to R of t. So it is of no consequence, right? So if you wish, you could now consider this guy also, doesn't matter, because ai is very small, ai square will be very very small. So here it is easier to ignore this guy, okay, because there is a squaring operation in the square root. If you wish, you can keep it, okay, or if you wish, you can remove it, because it will not make any difference to our discussion from here onwards. Now let us see what will be the discriminator output. So by discriminator, I mean frequency discriminator. Okay, so let us use a discriminator in a more general sense than demodulator. It could be phase discriminator or frequency discriminator, doesn't matter. For the phase modulation, we call it a phase discriminator. For the frequency demodulation, we call it a frequency discriminator. Let's say it's an ideal discriminator, right? This is ideal. For the phase modulated signal, your output yd of t would be proportional to its instantaneous phase deviation. Therefore, this is equal to, what is the instantaneous phase? This is my instantaneous phase. So therefore, my output is ai times ac sine of omega it. What is yd of t? Output of your phase demodulator. Is equal to this one. Okay, as you might expect, that output contains interference. See, this omega I indicates interference frequency, and this ai indicates interference amplitude. Interference amplitude. But what did we say? We said there was no modulation. We assumed the input to the discriminator is a pure carrier signal. We assumed that input is 0. So as per the condition, the output should be 0, but the output is not 0 here. The output is ai by ac times sine omega ct. Why this is coming? Because of the interference. Okay, so you might expect the output contains the interference. Of course, it will come along with the modulating signal m of t. But I ignored the m of t here, right? We assumed m of t equal to 0 when we started. Then we assumed m of t is equal to 0. Therefore, your phi of t is 0. We took the unmodulated carrier. So unmodulated carrier means output should be 0 only, but instead of 0, we are getting some output. Okay, so we are doing this analysis in the absence of modulation. In the absence of, in the absence of modulation, we are just looking at the effect of interference alone. So there was no message signal present in the input. So there is no message signal present at the output also. See, there is no message signal here. No message component. Because in the input there is no message signal. But instead of no message signal in the output, you have some additional term. That additional term is ai by ac times sine omega it. Okay, so as per the ideal frequency demodulator, the output should have been 0. So instead of it is 0, there is a signal present coming from the interference ai by ac times sine omega it. Okay, a signal coming at frequency omega I, its amplitude or strength depends on the ratio ai by ac. Now if you make ac much larger, then the strength will be negligible. Therefore, if the input signal strength is much stronger, then the interference will be disregarded. Okay, if ai's interference amplitude is small, which is what we assumed, okay, so this total overall interference will be negligible. Therefore, the discriminator output will show a spurious signal which is not present in the desired input. So this is for the phase demodulator. Okay, this is for phase demodulator PD. Now let us see what we will get for the FM discriminator. Okay, so So what is for FM discriminator? Your desired output yd of t is equal to it is d by dt of your phi of t, right? Your phi of t is equal to ai by ac times sin omega it for FM discriminator. My output is equal to output of FM discriminator is equal to, it is denoted by y suffix d. Sorry. Discriminator is denoted by y suffix d of t, and this one is d phi of t by dt. Now after discriminator, let me put the discriminator constant kd times d by dt of ai by ac times sin omega it. So if you differentiate, then yd of t is equal to k suffix d ai by ac times omega I times cos of omega it. This is the output of FM discriminator. Okay, for your phase discriminator, it is going to be, I forgot to put the kd here. Okay, you put d also here. Where is it? Yeah. So here you can put k suffix d, discriminator constant. So for this is going to be k suffix d ai by ac sin omega it. This is phase modulator. That's it. So here we used the approximation like tan inverse of theta is equal to theta if theta is small. That approximation we used to derive this. Now what is the last equation number I gave? 5 and 6, right? 4 and 5. So let me call this is 6 and 7. So one interesting observation that we note here, especially from equation number 6, is the output amplitude of the interference signal at the discriminator output is not constant. See, if omega I increases, the interfering frequency increases, then the amplitude also increases. This is my amplitude of the output signal, right? That amplitude is function of omega I, but here it is constant. This one is constant. In the phase modulator, it is giving constant interference. Okay, whether you take see, for example, 91.2 is a desired carrier frequency FC, whether you take 91.5 or 91.6 or 91.8 doesn't matter. Okay, your FC plus Fi doesn't matter, it gives the constant. But here it, with respect to carrier frequency, the interference component is increasing. So your frequency discriminator output is depending on the frequency of the interfering component. So it is a frequency dependent function for the case of frequency discriminator or frequency demodulator. The larger the input frequency difference between omega c and the interference signal, the larger the amplitude of interfering signal at the discriminator output. Okay, so if the frequency deviates very much, then the output also has larger amplitude. The smaller it is, the smaller the amplitude. Of course, the values of Fi which are greater than bandwidth of the message itself will be no consequences, isn't it? Whenever this Fi is greater than W, then that will be removed by the low pass filter. So this is has no consequence. Okay, simply you cannot say this 91.2 megahertz and the interference components is like a 94.2 megahertz. No, this is not valid, because the moment you deviate from your carrier frequency, then that will be removed by the low pass filter. Because in any case you can put a low pass filter at the output of the discriminator to remove any higher frequency component, because the message signals contains the component from minus W to plus W. So if the interference signal exists at the frequency Fi greater than W, that will be anyway removed by the low pass filter. So you don't have to worry. So we only have to worry about the value of Fi's which are between minus W to plus, which are, yes, you are right, minus W to plus W. Basically, if your Fi is greater than W, no consequence. This already we wrote it. Now let us summarize this equation 6 and 7 pictorially. Okay. Let us summarize this these two guys pictorially. How does it look like? So if I plot the amplitude of the discriminator output, let's say this is my frequency, interfering frequency Fi, and this is interference amplitude Yd of t. Now if you look at the PM, it is always constant. Whether the interference frequency is very low or medium or high or very large, doesn't matter. It is a constant curve. What is a constant value? This value is going to be k suffix d times ai by ad. Now what will happen to the Fm? It is a function of your omega I, that is Fi, the signal strength is. Okay, so it is function of linearly increasing like this. It is increasing like this. So this guy is PM and this guy is Fm. For the case of PM, it has no dependence on the frequency. Okay, therefore it has constant value of Kd times Ai by Ad. That is a behavior for the phase modulator, phase demodulator. For the Fm, it is a function like a straight line. The amplitude of the output is frequency dependent. It goes like that. For smaller the amplitude, for smaller the frequencies, the amplitude is smaller. Amplitude is smaller. For larger frequencies, the amplitude is larger. So Fm seems to have an advantage as long as your Fi's are less than certain value. Let's say if it falls below this value, then okay, let me draw again one more time like this. So if you are in this region, below this region, if your Fm signal is in this frequency, then Fm has advantage. Okay, so Fm seems to have an advantage as long as your Fi is less than, let's say this frequency is F dash. So your Fi interference frequency is less than F dash, then Fm is good. Because in that region you have this value is less than this value. But at the moment your Fi greater than f dash, then your FM signal has this amplitude which is much larger than this amplitude, constant line. Therefore, in that case your PM is good. Here PM is not good, and here FM is not good. That's it. So depending on the interference frequency, you can say whether PM is good or FM is good. Okay, if FIs are more than certain value, then PM has an advantage. For higher frequencies, PM has a disadvantage. For lower frequencies, FM has the disadvantage. For lower interference frequencies, FM has the advantage. For higher interference frequencies, PM has advantage. And here we are considering sinusoidal interference. So as long as omega c plus omega i is very close to omega c, FM is good. FM has an advantage. Okay, if omega c plus omega i is far away from omega c, then PM is good. Far away means don't think very far away. Okay, if it is very far away, then you can put a low pass filter and take care of those guys. Okay, if omega c plus omega i, in that Fi is omega is much greater than W, then there is no consequence. So we are talking of all these values lying between 0 to W. So the final point is for small Fi interference frequency, FM is superior. For large Fi, PM is superior. However, it is something that we would like to get the best of both of these. Okay, so how can we do that? We need to get something best from this, whether you are using PM or FM, and whether the interference frequency is high or low, then we need to somehow get the best performance from this. How can I do that? Because I don't know when the interference frequency will be large and when the interference frequency will be small. Okay, so if I know constantly my interference frequency is large, then I can go for PM. And if I know a priori, like with a priori, that if the interference frequency is less, then I can go for FM. But sometimes it will be larger and sometimes it will be smaller. So in such a case, how do you achieve the better performance? That is, we would like to retain the advantage of FM signal which you get for the lower frequency for the lower interference frequencies, even though the interference frequency is large. Therefore, what should I do? I should say this is my constant amplitude for my PM. For FM, it goes like this. So beyond this point, let me call A point. Beyond that, my signal increases like this, right? So from in this region, no problem. So it is good for me. But this guy is bad for me. So I am very much satisfied in this portion. Let's say O to A, very much satisfied. But let's say A to it goes up to some A dash. A to A dash, I am not happy because the interference component amplitude is large. So I need to do something. What can I do for that? See, for me no problem from in this portion O to A. Okay, but I should not allow the amplitude beyond A. Okay, so what can I do? So somehow you bend this curve to down. So that's what one has to do. So how can I do that? So indeed that can be done, okay, but one has to use a filter at that output of the discriminator. so that you got one second, you put a suitable filter for this guy so that you can bring down and you will get this kind of characteristics. Okay, so you get this kind of behavior. So there is a filter, that filter is called a de-emphasis filter, which will do this operation. So there is a filter, we use de-emphasis filter that will bring this AA dash portion, this portion to downwards. Therefore the next topic is de-emphasis. So we use a filter, let's say low pass filter. Basically what do we want to do? We want to make sure that as the amplitude increases with the frequency, the filter response will be smaller at those frequencies, right? So you have the characteristics like this, and this guy is keep on increasing. Now what should I do? This portion somehow I will bring down like this, right? So in this portion no problem, in this portion no problem, but in this portion I have to bring it to down. So that is done by with the help of something called low pass filter, and that low pass filter is called de-emphasis. Okay, so the FM discriminator response is increasing like this. So I will allow the filter response to decrease linearly in the opposite direction. So that my interference component will be coming down. So that will be done by the help of a device called a de-emphasis. Okay, so let me stop at this point. In the next lecture, I will talk about elaborately about a de-emphasis filter, also pre-emphasis filter. So the de-emphasis is there at the demodulator side, in the receiver side, and we will employ pre-emphasis filter at the modulator side. Okay, so that we will see in the next lecture. Thank you very much.